Usually I have some sort of plan in mind when I talk about my quilts, and I don't have any plan today except to talk about colors and shapes. Because basically that's what quilts are, colors and shapes made out of fabric. And let's start with some that I have that are seasonal. And here's one with tulips on it. This was one that I adapted from another pattern quite a while ago. And if you notice, what's this shape right here? Triangle, okay? Those are little triangles, but they're flaps. They're called prairie points. They're just attached at the bottom. So that's one of the techniques to make three-dimensional elements on a quilt. And then I did a little machine embroidery. And that's about it with that. This one is not quite so literal. And this technique is called watercolor quilts. I did this in a class in which you take little bits and pieces that have similar colors to their neighbors and blend them so it looks like you're doing a watercolor painting. And I thought this looked like a pond. So I named it Purple Water. And yes, quilts have names. Now there's some autumn quilts. And again, this is not literal. This is figurative. What does it look like to you? Yes?
An autumn forest?
Yes, exactly. Because I used fabric here that looked like it had trees in it. And then I added fake leaves. Anybody want to guess what this is resembling?
Corn.
Something that grows in the fall. Yes.
Hay or corn?
Could be. Some people think they're allergic to it. Yes. Go ahead. Maybe, but I mean it's up to interpretation. Yes.
Pollen.
Well, it makes pollen. Yes. Yeah.
Flowers, like dandelion.
What kind of flowers have yellow stalks? Yellow, big long yellow flowers in the fall. Anybody know? Yeah.
Sunflowers.
Well, those would be big and round. Yeah.
Buttercups.
Those are little. Those are all good yellow flowers. Yeah.
Hay, wheat.
How about goldenrod? And all I did was I knotted some yarn. Okay, this one has lots of shapes in it. Now, who said sunflower? Okay, here's your sunflower. All right, and here are prairie points. And more prairie points. What do you think this is? Yes? Yes! It's a little chicken. And then we have the maple leaves. And this is a very popular shape made out of 3 triangles. All right, this is called a half square triangle because if you imagine where the rest of it is, it makes a square. So is this. This could also be a quarter square triangle if you divide it up in a different way. Excuse me. These are called flying geese. Do they look like geese to you? No. When geese fly in the fall and they kind of go in formation. Okay? And then this is just a square within a square with more triangles. And this is called a pineapple block. Can you see why it looks like a pineapple? And I wrote a poem in here. I wrote the poem October by Robert Frost. all by hand. This was fun and a challenge. And this has a different kind of triangle. We talked about half square triangles. Anybody know what this kind of triangle is? Yes? Isosceles. Very good. All right, it means that all the sides are the same. And then here are three put together to make one big triangle. And, oh, look what's flying around. Flying geese. Except I made a mistake when I put it together. Well, I made a design change when I put it together. There were no mistakes in quilting, there were just design changes. Can anybody see what design change I made? Yes, in the back.
Like they are kind of more like less colorful.
That's correct, yeah. They're less colorful, they're because I wanted the center to really show the best, yeah.
Instead of having them fly in a circle pattern, you have the top and bottom facing opposite directions and the left and right facing opposite.
Exactly, exactly. That's a design change. And I got it all together and I said, well, okay, so two of them are flying into this corner and two of them are flying into this corner, but it still looks okay. I had originally intended exactly what you said, to go all in the same direction. And this is called a pinwheel, using 8 half square triangles. And this one has more, and this one's a little bit different. It has those isosceles triangles here. These and these are diamonds. And they're sewn together. This one makes it a 6-pointed star. And the number of points in a star depend on what the angle is that you cut it. Now, if you have 6 points in a star, what's the angle? That's really higher math. Okay.
25 degrees.
How many? 25? Not quite. Okay. How many degrees in a circle? You gotten that far yet? 360. Okay. If you divide 360 by 6, what do you get?
60.
60. So these are 60-degree triangles. I bet you never thought you could use math this way. And now that we're on to winter, here's another one. This is a little cabin in the snow. And these are called log cabin blocks, because they go around the center. The center is traditionally red, meaning the heart. Okay, and this is snow on the edge of the roof. Well, the original pattern didn't call for snow. So why did I put snow on the roof? Because those parts don't match. And they were supposed to match. So I said, oh, well, let's just put a little snow on there. Nobody will see that. So that's why there's snow on the roof. And it also gives it a little three-dimensional color. And notice how these colors have faded from hanging. Fabric is alive, right? It's cotton. It was grown, all right? It sometimes fades. It sometimes abrades. It sometimes frays. And part of it is chemical. So you have to know a little chemistry. All right, now we're back to summer. And this is what you could do if you have lots of triangles in a gradation of color. What is this? Anybody want to guess? In the back of the red shirt. Yeah. Except, look, you can see underwater. And just like the beach, it's darker as you go further down into the water. And here's the sun. All right? You can see it's lighter here, and it gets darker here. And then there's all kinds of fantastic creatures in the sea. I'm not sure what they are, but they were fun to make. Yeah.
Is the one that looks kind of like a hummingbird, a flying fish or something?
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted it to be, and it's supposed to be sticking out, but because it gets folded with other quilts, it kind of folded over. But yeah, that's, I was thinking of that sort of thing. And I do have a couple of real shells on here. But it's fun to make up your own. They don't have to be real creatures. They can just be something from your imagination. And here's another creature from your imagination. So this is just a single quilt block. This is a traditional block called a bumblebee block. Can you see the bumblebees? Sort of? And this is based on the concept of a 9-patch. A 9-patch is a division of 9 squares, and usually the corner squares and sometimes the center are the same fabrics. So there's a 9-patch. But wait, it's a double 9-patch, because if you think of this as all one patch, then you get more. So it's a double 9-patch. And this one's fun. I call this one stuffed chicken wings. Because, what are these again? What are these called? Well, yes, they're supposed to be feathers. Yep. Yes, they're flaps, but they're called something. Yep. Yep. What? Huh? Yes, prairie points. And these are kind of a variation of prairie points. They're not the traditional ones, but they're making prairie points into kind of flaps and kind of little wings. So this was fun to make. And I like this chicken block, but I didn't want to make a lot of them, so I just used it in the middle. And then here's another one of my chicken quilts. Like this one. And this is what's called fussy cutting. It means when you take a piece of fabric and you want a particular motif from that fabric to highlight, then you cut the square around each of the motifs. And I did the same thing with the eggs. And here's more little chickens. And here's the little chicks going all the way around. And this is called a garden maze setting. That's using these strips of interlocking watch shape. Yep. Well, they're squares with the corners cut off. They have 8 sides. What's 8 sides? Somebody who hasn't said anything yet. Yes? Octagon. Okay. So here are the octagons. And notice what else has a similar shape, not as many sides, is chicken wire. So I used this setting because I thought it resembled the chicken wire. And that's how I came up with that idea. And show me that. You notice in the back, the way I quilted it, I didn't quilt any in the center of the chickens, so that when you turn it around, the chickens puff up. And they look like they're 3-dimensional, but they're not. And here's another one. And this, look at the fabric on the back. This is what inspired me to design the quilt. Fabric on the back had little hearts and had little kitties. So I made a little kitty. And my kitty has stripes. So I used, what are these again? Prairie points. I used prairie points to make the little stripes on the kitty. And notice that these are wonky stars because they're not all exactly the same. And I put buttons for eyes and thread whiskers. And a few other buttons to highlight different areas. So that was fun. Let's see what else. Okay, now we're getting into more of the fantasy type things. This one's called a Barb Cello because I sewed a whole bunch of strips of fabric together. I cut them at an angle, and I sewed them, I made two sets, one going this way, one going this way, and then I put them together as an angle. And the Barb Cello part comes from moving them up and down a little bit. And then I used an uneven bottom border. And I don't know if it looks like anything particular. Did anybody see anything in it? Yeah.
That one on the end is going in different direction
Uh-huh.
than the other.
Okay.
Not going down, it's going up.
Oh. Yeah, I never noticed that. That's because if I had put one more on here, then it wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
It almost looks like, well, it's sort of going like biggest to smallest, or smallest to biggest.
Okay. Certainly the big ones are kind of in the middle, yes.
I kind of see two things. The first thing is like the purples remind me of like mountains, and then I also see it looks like parts of day, like the yellow orange parts at the beginning, and then as you go down to sunsets and all the way down to night.
What happens if you turn it upside down? Do you see something different? Yeah.
The purple on the bottom, I noticed it when it was the other way too. It kind of looks like a cliff, and like the edges looks like soft and
Because the cliff would be further away and therefore darker. Okay, yep.
it looks like the layers of the ground.
So like the Grand Canyon? So, well, maybe not the same colors of the Grand Canyon, but certainly a strata of the Grand Canyon. Yes?
I see a rainbow.
Well, there is kind of the rainbow idea in it. Yeah. Okay. And the next one, doesn't matter which one. Go any way you want. This is an Art Deco design from the 1930s. I saw a pin in the Metropolitan Museum catalog from New York that had this similar design. And I said, that would be a great two-color quilt. And I made this for our guild challenge that was a red and white challenge. And the rule of the challenge was first it had to be red and white. And secondly, it had to be no more than 100 inches in perimeter. So I had to enlarge this. I have it on here? No. It was about this big in catalog. So I had to enlarge that to be something that was no bigger than 100 inches around. So I brought it down to Staples and we played with it for about 2 hours. And this is what I came up with. And it had to be, I wanted to be a little bit longer, but it couldn't be a little bit longer because it would have made it too big for the challenge. And then I had to figure out some way to make it have some visual interest other than just the color, so I pulled the pebbles into it. And that was an interesting one. And this next one is, it's not all white, but it's close to it. What do you think this is? Just
A snowflake?
that's right. Technically called snow crystal. And this is made out of what shape? What's the degree? How can you tell it's 60? You're right, but how can you tell it's 60? Because if you look at how many it takes, it's actually a 6-pointed star, just like the other one. And here's another one that is subtle. I'm going to take this around. So you can't really see it unless you get close to it. Okay, what shape is in this? Anybody see a shape? I think you got it. What's the shape? Close, close, yeah. Well, it's set on a rectangle, yeah. What's the shape? A what? A whale? Show me the whale. Could be. It could be. Yeah. A swirly shape, exactly. It's a swirly shape in the middle. And this is called a whole cloth quilt because it's not pieced. All I did was put stuff on top. And then I used some fancy fabric. And basically what I did, this is hand-painted fabric. I didn't hand-paint it, but it was hand-painted fabric. And I took the shapes in the fabric, and that's what led me to make whatever. You know, I showed some people, and I thought it looked like outer space. And some people think it looks like under the sea. So, I don't know. Yeah.
I see a peacock in outer space.
A peacock in outer space. I like that. It certainly has peacock colors in it. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like somebody's imagination or like perspective, like of lenses. Like a big scroll thing looks like a sun or like a stone, and then two big blue blobs of like whales come towards it.
Could be. Could be. But you can see that even though I had in mind that it might be outer space, if you see under the ocean, then that's okay, because that's what art does. It expands your imagination, and you take what you are in your life and look at art and make it your own. Yes, it's interesting to know what the artist has in mind, but you don't have to agree with the artist. You can just use your imagination. And this last one is probably the ultimate of, come on, get it. Yeah. Nope. Has to dangle. I don't know. I changed my mind of which way I have this. And these are just triangles. They're just triangles. And it has to do with how the colors play with each other. And I started this in a class of how to use triangles. And then I said, this is boring. I'm going to make it so that it's not square and it's not a rectangle, that parts stick out. And I call this one edgy, because in a way it is edgy and it's not following the rules. But also because it doesn't really have an edge. And then I thought, well, you know, I should have made it a little longer. I guess I'll hold it this way. I should have made it a little longer on this side. So I said, oh, I know how to make it longer. I'll just add beads. So it gives the illusion of having some extra design down there because it's just dangling down. That's it. Any questions? Comments? Yes?
It almost looks like you could like take the triangles off and like make it like a puzzle.
Well, I did have it hanging up on my design wall for a very long time, and I kept changing where the triangles went, depending on what I felt like that day, until I finally was happy with the way they were, and then sewed it together, yeah.
How long does it take you to make these quilts?
Well, there are two phases to it. One's thinking about it and one's actually making it. And sometimes, like this one, it took me a lot longer to think about it than it did to make it. Yes?
How old is that one that has the snow crystal things on it?
It's not that old.
Oh.
Can you get the red and green one out? I can get that one out too. Yeah, she wants to see this one first. All right, why did you think this one's old?
No, I thought it was newer because it kind of reminds me of Elsa, but I didn't know if that's how you got inspired by it.
Elsa? Who's Elsa?
From Frozen.
What?
From Frozen.
Oh! No! No, it's not that new. No, actually, I made this one as a guild challenge also. It was our 25th anniversary as a guild, and the traditional 25th anniversary for weddings is silver. So we decided to use silver lame as our challenge, and we had to use silver in it. This is one example of a quilt that doesn't show well, because if this is in with a whole bunch of quilts that have lots of colors in it, you don't really see it. But I like to hang this over my fireplace in January, because the angle of the sun that comes in with my skylight is a very low angle, and it hits right over my fireplace, so it makes all the crystals kind of sparkle. And the wall is white too, so it's white on white. Yes?
How do people make quilts?
How do people make quilts?
Like, do you take a fabric and then you sew shapes on it?
You could. That's called applique. The swirly one, purple one. No, it's on the This is applique. All right, that's exactly what I did. I cut out some shapes. Now this is, I put some glue on the back. They have paper that has glue on it that you can iron on the back of fabric, and it transfers the glue to the back of the fabric, and then you cut it out, and then you stick it on, and then you sew over it. Or you could do applique by hand. I don't have any example of hand applique.
Tom Tidwell, please report to room 207.
But for the other quilts, let's start with the traditional way. Okay, I want to show you this one again. This red and white fabric is over 100 years old. It was on the back of an old quilt that a friend found in her mother's attic that had all kinds of little mouse holes in it, and it smelled bad, and you think, oh, that's trash, let's just throw it away. Well, it was over 100 years old. And it had a lot of history to it, even though it was made as a utility quilt just to use. It wasn't anything fancy. So what I did is I took it apart, and I washed the fabric. I threw the stuffing away. And then I used some of the best parts of the fabric for other projects. So this is a very traditional pattern. I did this all by hand. I quilted it by hand because I wanted to kind of pay tribute to the quilters of a century ago and use the fabric that they might have used. But the rest of it is all modern fabric. But I thought it went nicely with this. With this one, I did my design on graph paper, even though they have computer programs to design quilts. I like to use graph paper. And I drew it out, and I figured out, actually, this one I did backwards. You're supposed to start with the center. I started with the border. Not a good idea. Fitting all this in was almost impossible. It's a lot easier when you start with the center and work your way out. So I drew it all on graph paper, and then I came up with the shape and the size. For example, I knew that's what size diamond I wanted. And then I added a seam allowance so that I could sew them together and have the seam in the back, and I knew just exactly what size the patch would be. And that's how I started. So I started with a design on graph paper, and then I figured out the size of the patch I needed, and then I sewed them together. And then you layer it with batting, and then you quilt it. Did that answer your question? And you do exactly the same thing when you're working with a sewing machine. And if you're reading a pattern, they tell you what size and what shape to cut your patches and how to sew them together, and you follow the directions. Any other questions?
How much money is if you could find one of these quilts at a store, how much money would it cost?
Unfortunately, quilting is not a very lucrative profession because it's undervalued. It takes what they're worth and what you can get paid for them, two different things. Probably the most valuable quilts are the Baltimore album quilts that were made in the 1850s by a small number of women in Baltimore, Maryland. And they are all applique. They have little pieces cut and they're sewed together and they're kind of pictures. And those can go for between $25,000 and $50,000. You don't do it for the money, you do it because you love doing it. Any other questions? Thank you very much for having me today. I enjoyed it.